The storm arrived before the warnings did. By the time the emergency alert blinked on my phone screen, flash, flood warning, seek shelter immediately, the sky had already split open, tearing itself into violent sheets of silver rain that hammered the mountain road like they wanted to carve a new river through it. The wipers on my car thrashed uselessly, smearing water more than clearing it. I should have stayed home. I should have never driven into these mountains after sunset. I should have ignored the voicemail from the hospital about my mother, but the last thing she said to me, her voice frail but determined, kept replaying in my head. Lena, come home. So I went, even if home was the last place I ever wanted to return to. Lightning cracked across the sky, illuminating the twisted pines that lined the narrow road. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel as the tires skidded on a patch of mud. Come on, come on, I whispered to the car, or maybe to myself. The rain was so loud it became a kind of roar, almost an animal. And then, something moved across the road. A dark blur. Massive. Fast. Too fast. I jerked the wheel before my mind could process what my eyes had seen. The car fishtailed. Hard. Sliding sideways across gravel and water. My breath caught in my throat. I lost control. The world slammed sideways. Metal screamed. Glass shattered. The seatbelt punched the air from my lungs. Then the car plunged nose first into the ditch beside the road. For a moment, everything was silent except the ticking of the engine and the violent pounding of the rain. My pulse thundered in my ears as I reached for the door handle. Pain shot through my arm, sprained wrist, maybe worse. I swallowed hard, blinking through the daze. I had to get out. The water was already rising around the tires. The door finally gave way with a groan, and cold rain slapped me in the face as I pulled myself free, boots sinking ankle-deep in mud. I staggered up the embankment, shivering. My phone was somewhere in the wreckage behind me. Dead or drowned, I couldn't tell. The road stretched out empty and dark except for the storm. But that wasn't true. Not empty. Something was there. Someone. A figure stood at the tree line, barely visible through the rain. Tall, broad-shouldered, a silhouette more shadow than man. I froze. My heartbeat climbed into my throat. He wasn't wearing a jacket. Or maybe he wasn't wearing anything at all. I couldn't see clearly. Hey. My voice trembled as I cupped my hands around my mouth. Hey, hello? I need help. My car... The figure stepped forward. A flash of lightning lit the world for a fraction of a second, and in that moment, I saw eyes. Glowing. Silver bright. Reflecting the storm like a predator's. I stumbled back. What are you? No answer. Just another step, water splashing around his boots. He was huge, well over 6 feet, and the rain didn't seem to touch him the way it touched me. It slid off him as if afraid to cling. My instinct screamed. Every part of me told me to run, but I couldn't, because his voice, when it came, wasn't the voice of a monster. It was rough, deep, and somehow wounded. You shouldn't be out here, he said. It's dangerous. I swallowed hard. I noticed. His gaze flicked to the ruined car, then back to me. You're hurt. Only then did I see the blood running down my forearm, dripping from a cut I didn't remember getting. He took another step toward me. I stepped back. Don't. He stopped. The rain softened around us, though the storm still raged all around. It was as if a bubble of quiet had formed where he stood. My heart didn't know whether to fear him or lean toward him. He spoke again, softer this time, almost reluctant. I'm not going to hurt you. Everything about him said otherwise. The size, the unnatural stillness. The way his eyes glowed faintly even without lightning, as if something wild lived inside him. Yet, something in his voice made warmth curl through my chest, an instinctive trust I couldn't explain. I wrapped my arms around myself. Then, who are you? His jaw clenched as if the question pained him. Lightning hit again, closer. The ground vibrated. He turned his head sharply, nostrils flaring like he smelled something. Damn it, he muttered. His voice dropped to a growl. They're too close. Who? I whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he moved toward me quickly. I flinched, but he stopped inches away, towering over me, heat radiating from his body despite the freezing rain. His scent hit me. Warm cedar, musk, something wild and electric that made my pulse trip over itself. He leaned down and whispered, I have to get you out of here. And suddenly the storm didn't feel like the greatest danger anymore. I can walk, I said. No, he said gruffly. You can't. As if proving his point, my knees buckled. He caught me before I hit the ground, his arms iron strong, one sliding behind my back, the other hooking beneath my knees. I gasped, fingers instinctively gripping his soaked shirt. Hard muscle flexed beneath my palms. Too much. Too close. Too... something. You're freezing, he murmured, voice dark velvet. You think? I muttered, teeth chattering. His lips twitched. Almost a smile. Almost. Then he jerked his head toward the trees. There's a cabin. Not far. I'll take you there. I should have said no. Every cautionary instinct in my body said no, but when I looked into those glowing eyes, fear didn't rise inside me. Something else did. Something magnetic. Pulling. Ancient. As if I already knew him. As if I'd been waiting for him. He started carrying me toward the woods. Wait, I whispered, gripping his shirt tighter. What's your name? For a second his steps faltered. When he looked down at me, his expression had shifted. Strangely sad, strangely fierce. Rylan, he said. Then softer. Don't be afraid of me, Lena. My entire body went still. I never told you my name. He didn't answer, and the storm swallowed us whole. The forest was alive with rain and shadow. Each step Rylan took seemed effortless, his long strides carrying me through the mud and underbrush while I clung to him as though he were the only thing keeping me tethered to the world. The storm had transformed the woods into a cathedral of sound, the relentless pounding of rain on leaves, the distant rumble of thunder, and my own heartbeat, loud in my ears. You'll be safe soon, he said, voice low, steady. There was no warmth in the words, only authority. But it comforted me anyway. Safe. From what? I asked, my teeth chattering as the cold seeped into my bones. Rylan didn't answer immediately. His jaw clenched, his eyes, glowing faintly silver in the dim light filtered through storm clouds, scanned the shadows around us. From them, he said finally, I can't explain right now. You just need to trust me. I wanted to argue, wanted to demand answers, but the mud was sucking at my boots. The rain stung my face, and my wrist throbbed from the cut I hadn't even bothered to check. There was no room for argument. I swallowed hard and nodded, letting him guide me deeper into the forest. The cabin appeared as if conjured by the storm itself, nestled in a small clearing. Smoke curled from the stone chimney despite the rain, and the soft amber light spilling from the windows offered an almost sacred promise of warmth. Rylan set me down gently at the edge of the clearing, and I finally allowed myself a proper look at him. He was breathtakingly impossible. Broad-shouldered, towering over me, wet hair plastered to his face, and eyes that seemed to pierce right through the rain and into me. I shivered, unsure if it was the cold or the pull of something more, something I didn't understand yet. You go inside, he said, his hand brushing against mine as he gestured toward the door. I'll check the perimeter. I hesitated. Why are you helping me? You don't even know me. His lips twitched, almost a smile, but it never reached his eyes. You're hurt, he said simply. That's reason enough. I wanted to press further, but the rain was relentless, and the thought of warmth and dry clothes inside the cabin was irresistible. I stepped forward, the wooden porch slick beneath my boots. The door swung open before I could knock, revealing a cozy interior that smelled of wood smoke and pine. Sit, he said, already moving toward a small first aid kit on a table. He didn't wait for me to comply. Your cut is shallow, but needs cleaning. You'll get an infection if we don't. I flinched as he cleaned the wound, his fingers steady and firm. The touch sent an electric jolt through me, one that made me pull my hand back reflexively. Don't move, he commanded softly, catching my wrist with a gentle but unyielding grip. You're not in danger from me. Not yet. I'm not afraid of you, I whispered, though my voice betrayed me. Rylan paused, looking at me in a way that made the air between us feel charged. You should be, he murmured. Then, almost as quickly, his expression hardened. But not for me. I didn't know what to say. His words were a paradox, a warning wrapped in a promise, danger intertwined with safety. The storm outside continued its relentless assault, and the cabin's small fire flickered as if it were battling the darkness. I watched Rylan move around the small room with the ease of someone who belonged in the wild, yet every action was careful, controlled, like a predator masking its intentions. Why didn't you shift? I asked quietly, my curiosity getting the better of me despite the strange pull I felt toward him. He froze. Shift? You know, change. Like a wolf. My voice was tentative, almost embarrassed. I shouldn't even be thinking about such things. Yet something about him, the scent, the way his presence filled the room, made me want to know. Rylan's eyes darkened. He stared at me for a long moment, the silence between us stretching like a taut wire. Finally, he said, Not here. Not now. It's dangerous. I nodded, but the words only made my mind spin faster. Dangerous. That word, repeated, echoed in my chest like a drum. Dangerous. Like him. He handed me a dry cloth to wrap around my wrist. His fingers brushed mine again, and this time, I didn't pull away. Instead, I let a warmth spread through me that had nothing to do with the fire. Why me? I whispered, almost to myself. Rylan's gaze softened, fleetingly. Because you stayed when most would have run. Because you didn't scream when you saw me in the storm. You didn't run. That means something. I swallowed. I didn't know what I was seeing. I broke off, unsure how to put into words what had startled me so completely. You're not human. He didn't answer immediately. The tension between us tightened like a drawn bowstring. Then, after a long pause, he said quietly, Not entirely. The admission made the hair on my arms rise. My pulse hammered in my ears. I wanted to ask more, to demand answers, but the storm outside and the small, intimate warmth of the cabin pressed down on me like a velvet weight. I should stay, I said finally, nodding toward the door. I don't want to be a burden. You're not a burden, he said immediately. Then, almost reluctantly, you're a liability. My stomach dropped at the words, but I didn't leave. Instead, I moved closer to the fire, letting its glow wash over me. The shadows it cast flickered across Rylan's face, highlighting the sharp angles, the haunted look in his eyes, and the hint of something dangerous that lived just beneath the surface. Tell me your name, I said softly, after a moment. Rylan, he repeated, almost grudgingly. Rylan Thorne. I let the name roll around in my mouth. Rylan. The syllables felt weighted, like they carried a history I couldn't see yet. And you, Lena, he said, finally meeting my eyes. I'll need to know your last name eventually. I need to know everything about you if you're going to stay here, if you're going to survive tonight. I nodded, the storm outside echoing the rapid beat of my heart. Somehow, I knew he meant more than just survival. Somehow, I knew he had already changed the course of my life, though I didn't yet understand how or why. Rylan stepped back toward the window, his gaze scanning the tree line. The faint glow of his eyes flickered as lightning split the sky again. The storm was far from over, and neither was the sense of danger that clung to him, or to me. "Rest," he said finally, his tone brokering no argument. "You'll need your strength." I obeyed, settling onto the worn couch, blanket pulled tight around me. Every muscle in my body hummed with tension, anticipation, and an unspoken pull toward him. I didn't yet know the truth about Rylan, about the glowing silver in his eyes, the power that seemed to hum just beneath his skin, or the bond that had begun to tug at my chest with every glance, every word. But I knew one thing with terrifying clarity. The storm had brought him to me for a reason, and somehow, I had a feeling I would never escape it. Or him. Sleep came in fitful waves. Every time my eyes closed, I saw the storm reflected in Ryland's silver eyes, lightning striking the forest, and the dark blur of movement on the road that had almost ended my life. I shivered, not from the cold, but from the memory of him. So impossibly strong, so impossibly alive, and yet somehow not entirely human. I woke to the sound of the fire crackling, low and steady. Rylan was nowhere in sight. For a moment, I felt a pang of unease. His absence in that empty cabin made the silence louder. My body had not yet stopped anticipating danger. I wrapped the blanket tighter around my shoulders and rose, curiosity overriding caution. The door creaked as I pushed it open. The rain had slowed, but the woods were still dripping, leaves slick and dark. My boots made soft squelches in the mud. Then I heard it. A low growl, distant yet unmistakable. I froze. The hairs on my arms stood on end. My pulse shot up. I knew that sound. I had heard it in nightmares when I was a child. Wolves. "Rylan?" My voice trembled. "Are you out there?" No answer. Only the forest and the occasional drip of water from branches. I stepped cautiously down the path leading to the edge of the clearing. A shadow moved, a flash of dark fur between the trees. My stomach dropped. My instincts screamed at me to run back inside, slam the door, and hide until morning. But before I could move, he emerged from the shadows. Rylan. Only, he wasn't running. He wasn't human. My breath caught in my throat. His form rippled, shifting, growing, stretching. Muscles expanded, fur sprouted like dark smoke over his skin. The glow in his eyes intensified, a silver fire that made my knees weak. The wolf that stood before me was massive, larger than any wolf I had ever seen. And yet, there was no mistaking the intelligence, the awareness, the soul behind those eyes. I stumbled back. What are you?" He froze mid-step, ears twitching. Then, in a voice that rumbled like distant thunder, he said, "I told you, not entirely human." I... My words faltered. Fear and awe warred in my chest. Every instinct screamed to run, yet something else rooted me to the spot, a magnetic pull I could not resist. "You shouldn't be out here," he said again, wolf teeth glinting faintly in the dim light. "It's not safe." "Safe?" I exclaimed, my voice cracking. "You're a wolf. I'm still me," he interrupted, shifting back to his human form almost seamlessly, rain dripping from his wet hair. His silver eyes softened for just a fraction of a second, and I saw the man beneath the predator. The intensity of his gaze made me step closer without thinking. I wanted to understand, to know the truth, even if it terrified me. Why are you like this?" I asked softly. "Why me?" Ryland's jaw clenched. His eyes darted toward the forest, alert, as if expecting something, or someone, to appear. "Because you're in danger," he said, "and because I was sent to protect you." I laughed nervously. "Sent? By who?" He didn't answer. Instead, he turned abruptly and moved toward the cabin. "Inside, now." I followed, heart pounding in my chest. Questions spun in my mind like leaves in a storm. Protect me? Sent to protect me? By whom? And why did it feel like the pull between us had begun the moment I saw him in the storm? Back inside, he closed the door and bolted it. The cabin felt smaller, warmer, and yet charged with tension. The air between us was electric. "Rylan," I began, unsure how to phrase my fear and fascination at the same time. You can shift. You're a wolf. How many others like you are there?" His expression darkened. "Enough to make your head spin, and none of them are friendly. Some follow laws older than you or I can comprehend. Some see humans as prey. Some would kill you just for existing here." I swallowed hard. My stomach churned. Then why me? Why am I not in danger yet? Ryland's eyes softened and he moved closer. His presence was overwhelming, filling every corner of the small cabin. "Because you are different, and I am bound to you. Whether you understand it or not, Lena, your fate and mine are connected." The words sent shivers down my spine. Bound to me? Fate? Sounded like something from a fairy tale or a nightmare. Yet the pull I felt toward him, magnetic and insistent, told me it was real. "You smell like home," he murmured suddenly, voice low, almost reverent. "And danger." I blinked. I smell like danger?" "Yes." His gaze hardened. "And fire. And something ancient. You're not just a human wandering into the woods. You're marked by me." The weight of the words pressed down on me. Marked by him. I wanted to retreat, to say that I didn't understand, that this couldn't be real, but the intensity of his presence pinned me in place. "I don't understand," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I don't even know what any of this means." Rylan reached out, brushing a wet strand of hair from my face. His fingers lingered at my jaw, tracing the line of my cheek in a touch that was both protective and intimate. "You will," he said softly. "In time, you'll understand. But for now, trust me. Trust me to keep you alive." I nodded, though I wasn't sure if it was trust or fear, or something deeper that I didn't yet have words for. Something that tightened in my chest whenever he was near. The storm had passed, but the tension in the cabin remained. Outside, the forest was quiet, but inside, a new storm raged. One of curiosity, attraction, and fear. I realized, with a jolt, that I had never been this close to someone who was both terrifying and magnetic. That I had never felt drawn to danger the way I was drawn to Rylan. "Rest," he said again, voice firm. "You'll need your strength. And soon, you'll need to run. Or fight." "Run? Or fight?" I echoed. "Yes," he said, "because someone or something is coming, and they won't stop until they find you." I swallowed, trying to steady my racing heart, and for the first time I understood that the storm outside had been only the beginning. The real danger, and the real connection, had only just begun. And in that moment, as the firelight flickered across his face, I realized I could not, and did not want to, turn away from him. Not now. Not ever. The night lingered longer than it should have. Rain drummed softly against the cabin roof, a lullaby that did little to calm my thoughts. I sat on the couch, wrapped tightly in the blanket, staring into the fire and trying to process everything that had happened. The storm, the car crash, and the impossible man who had saved me. Rylan sat across from me, quiet, leaning against the wooden wall. His eyes, dim in the firelight but still sharp, tracked my movements. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. There was a magnetic pull that made it impossible to ignore him. "You can look at me," he said suddenly. His voice was low, almost teasing, but there was an edge of something darker beneath it. I blinked. I, uh, I am looking." He tilted his head, studying me like I was a puzzle he didn't entirely want solved. "You're tense." "I can't help it," I admitted. "You're dangerous, and I don't know anything about you, or why you saved me." His lips curved, a hint of a smile, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Dangerous?" he echoed. "Do you think I'd leave you in the storm if I wanted to hurt you?" "I don't know what to think," I said honestly. "All I know is that I should be terrified, and yet, I'm not. And that scares me more than the storm ever could." Ryland's eyes softened, and for the first time, the weight behind them seemed less like a warning and more like sorrow. "You're not supposed to understand yet," he said, "but I can't lie. You've intrigued me." I swallowed hard, my pulse skipping. "Intrigued you?" I whispered, my voice almost lost in the crackling of the fire. "Yes," he said quietly. "There's something about you. Something that pulls at me. I've felt it since the storm." My breath caught. The pull he mentioned was undeniable. I could feel it in my chest, like a heartbeat that wasn't entirely my own, a vibration that resonated with his presence. It was confusing, frightening, and exhilarating all at once. "I don't even know you," I said softly. "How can you feel pulled to me?" He leaned forward slightly, the shadows playing across his sharp features. "Because it's not just me," he said. "It's destiny, fate, call it what you will. But you and we're bound, Lena. I can't explain it fully yet, but it's real, and it's dangerous." I looked away, trying to hide the flush that crept up my neck. Destiny. Bound. His words were heavy with implication, and yet they didn't frighten me as much as they should have. Instead, they stirred something inside me, a mixture of longing and fear I couldn't untangle. "Bound?" I asked. Like some kind of mate bond?" His gaze darkened, intensity flashing in his silver eyes. "Something like that," he admitted reluctantly. "But it's not just about attraction. It's deeper. It's ancient. It's primal. And it's why you survived the storm, and why you're here." I shivered again, this time not from the cold. The firelight flickered, and I caught the briefest glimmer of something vulnerable in his eyes. Vulnerable. The word shouldn't apply to a man who could shift into a wolf larger than any I had ever seen, whose presence made the forest itself seem alive and aware. And yet, there it was. "You're human," he said, voice softer now. "And you're untrained, unprepared for what's coming. But you've survived more than most. You're strong, even if you don't know it yet." His words struck something deep within me. Strength. Survival. Somehow, in that moment, I felt seen, not just as a scared girl caught in a storm, but as someone who mattered. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice trembling, "for saving me." Ryland's gaze flicked to me, and for a moment, the tension in the room shifted. He moved closer just slightly, and I felt the heat radiating from him even through the firelight. His proximity made my heart pound, made the air between us crackle with unspoken words. "You don't have to thank me," he said. "Not yet. Just trust me. That's enough." I nodded, swallowing hard. Trust. That word, like so many others he had used, felt weighty and dangerous. But beneath the fear there was a tentative willingness, a fragile thread of belief that maybe, just maybe, I could rely on him. The silence stretched between us, not uncomfortable, but charged. Every instinct in my body screamed both caution and curiosity. I wanted to ask him everything: who he was, why he could shift, what dangers stalked me. But the words caught in my throat. Instead, I studied him, memorizing the way his eyes reflected the fire, the way his jaw tensed as if holding back secrets, the subtle lines of vulnerability that flickered across his face. "You're hiding a lot," I said finally. "Always," he replied, a hint of a smile tugging at his lips. "It's part of surviving out here, part of being what I am." "And what are you?" I asked softly. He didn't answer immediately. The pause stretched, making my chest tighten. Then he said, almost as if testing the words himself, "I'm a protector. That's all you need to know for now." I nodded, though the words only deepened the mystery. Protector. Dangerous, powerful, supernatural. Protector. Somehow, the combination of fear and trust began to take root in me. The fire popped, sending a shower of sparks into the air. Ryland's eyes flicked to it, then back to me, sharp and calculating. "Rest," he said. "You'll need your strength for what's coming. And I'll stay close." His promise, simple as it was, filled me with a sense of cautious hope. He was dangerous, yes, but he was also the only person who had shown me a sliver of protection in a world that had felt overwhelmingly hostile. As I curled under the blanket, I realized something terrifying and thrilling. For the first time since I had returned to the mountains, I felt almost safe, almost like I could breathe. And it scared me more than the storm ever had, because in that fragile trust, in that unspoken bond forming between us, I knew one thing with undeniable certainty: I was already falling for him. Not for the man I saw entirely, not for the wolf I glimpsed in the shadows, but for the combination of both. The dangerous, magnetic, impossible Rylan who had appeared in the storm and carried me through fear and rain. And I knew, deep down, that the slow burn of something inevitable had begun. Something that could either save me or destroy me. The night stretched long and restless. Even with the fire burning low, the cabin felt smaller, more confining than before. Rain had stopped, but the forest outside remained, dark and alive, every rustle and snap of a branch echoing like a threat. I woke to the subtle creak of the cabin door. My pulse jumped before I could think. Rylan was awake, standing by the window, gaze sharp, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "They're here," he murmured without turning. "Who?" I asked, sitting up, heart pounding. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he moved to the small table and picked up a knife, black and sleek, the handle worn with use. "Hunters. Or something worse. I sensed them as soon as you woke." "Hunters?" My voice trembled. "Like werewolf hunters?" He nodded, eyes narrowing. "Some know, some don't. Some kill without thinking. All of them are dangerous." I shivered, wrapping the blanket tighter around myself. "Why? Why would they want me?" Ryland's gaze softened for a brief moment, then hardened again. "Because you're marked, because you're tied to me, and because they're drawn to danger, like a predator to prey." The words hit me harder than I expected. I had survived the storm, the crash, the shift into his wolf form, but now the threat was human, and it was real. He moved to the door, checking the locks and the small barricade he had placed against it. Every motion was deliberate, careful, like he was preparing for war. "I don't understand," I whispered. "I don't even know what I am to you. And yet," my words faltered. "Yet, they're after me?" He turned, his gaze meeting mine. "Exactly." The pull between us tightened. The bond that had begun in the storm now hummed with tension, fear, and desire. I felt it in my chest, a magnetic force that drew me toward him even as my instincts screamed at me to run. I should fight, I said, almost to myself. I should— No, he interrupted, voice low and sharp. Not yet. You're untrained, unprepared. If you fight now, you'll die. The words were blunt, frighteningly honest. I nodded, swallowing the panic rising in my chest. Outside, the forest shifted. Shadows moved in patterns too deliberate to be random. My breath caught as I realized the danger wasn't far. Rylan crouched beside me, placing a firm hand on my shoulder. Stay close. Stay quiet. Trust me. I did. Minutes or hours passed in tense silence. Every snap of a branch, every whisper of wind through the trees made me flinch. The pull of the bond thrummed like a second heartbeat, and I realized I could sense his emotions, his focus, his readiness. They're circling, he murmured, voice almost a growl. At least 2, maybe 3. I shivered. What? What do we do? His eyes flicked to mine. We wait. We fight only if we have to. I protect you first. And yet, when he said it, the words weren't just a promise. They were a warning. His tone, low and resonant, carried the weight of someone who had fought and survived things I couldn't imagine. Someone who had endured danger beyond human reckoning. The forest seemed to close in, shadows shifting closer. A branch snapped nearby, and I held my breath, heart hammering. Then a figure appeared at the edge of the clearing, tall, clad in black, moving like a predator. Rylan shifted before I could even process it. The change was instantaneous, fluid, terrifying. He grew taller, muscles expanding beneath dark fur, eyes glowing silver in the faint firelight. The wolf he became was massive, imposing, a force of nature that seemed to command the very air. Back! He growled. The figure hesitated, a weapon raised. Run! Rylan's voice, low and fierce, reverberated in the cabin. I froze, panic lancing through me. I can't— Move! He snapped. His growl deepened, resonating in the clearing, a sound that made the blood in my veins run cold. Something primal, magnetic, and terrifying surged from him, filling the space between us and the hunter. The figure faltered, stepping back, eyes wide in shock. Rylan lunged forward, a blur of wolf and strength, and in a heartbeat, the intruder was thrown to the ground, weapon clattering across the wet earth. I gasped, covering my mouth with my hands. The wolf. Rylan paused, ears alert, eyes scanning the tree line. Then, as quickly as it had begun, he shifted back into human form, standing before me, breathing heavily, wet hair plastered to his forehead, chest rising and falling rapidly. You're safe, he said, voice low, almost a growl. For now. I wanted to speak, to ask how, why, but the words stuck in my throat. The fear, the awe, the pull between us, all collided into something raw and consuming. You saved me, I whispered finally. Yes, he said simply, and I'll do it again. Always. The statement, simple as it was, carried more weight than I could comprehend. It wasn't just a promise. It was a declaration, a warning, a tether between us, invisible but undeniable. I realized then, with a jolt that made my chest ache, that I was no longer a bystander in this story. I was part of it, part of his world, dangerous and raw and impossible as it was. And even though fear clawed at my heart, I knew I couldn't turn away. Because something inside me, some instinct older than reason, told me that this bond, this dangerous, magnetic, inexplicable pull between us, was meant to be. The storm had been only the beginning. The real danger was here now. And I was trapped in it. In him. In the slow-burning fire that neither of us could deny. Ryland's eyes met mine, silver and stormlit, and for a heartbeat, the forest, the hunters, the rain, all of it disappeared. All that existed was him, and the undeniable, irresistible pull of fate. The forest was silent again, but the air was thick with tension, the residue of what had just happened lingering like smoke. My legs were still trembling, and my hands shook from adrenaline, fear, and something else I didn't yet understand. Ryland stood a few feet from me, his chest still heaving, wet hair plastered to his forehead. Even in human form, he radiated danger, the kind that could kill in an instant, but also protection and something else, something magnetic. I started, my voice shaking. You're a wolf. You. Words failed me. He ran a hand through his damp hair, eyes narrowing. Yes, I'm a wolf. Not just a wolf. His tone was clipped, almost defensive. I'm a shifter, Lena. A werewolf. One of the few left. The words hit me like a physical blow. My mind spun, trying to reconcile the man I had seen in the storm, the wolf I had just witnessed, and the one standing in front of me. A werewolf? I whispered, voice barely audible. All this time, you saved me from a hunter and... I shook my head. You didn't tell me, why? He stepped closer, eyes locking on mine, intense and unrelenting. Because you're human, and humans are fragile. You don't understand our world, you can't. Not yet. If I had told you the truth, if I had shown you, some would have run, some would have screamed. I needed you to trust me first. To survive. I trusted you anyway, I said softly, chest tight, even without knowing the truth. Ryland's jaw tightened, a flicker of emotion, something almost tender crossing his features. That's part of why you're marked. Marked? I echoed. What do you mean? He exhaled slowly, a sound heavy with weight. You're my mate, Lena. And before you can run from it, before you can reject it, you need to know. My stomach lurched. Mate. The word was primal, loaded and terrifying. My pulse raced as I tried to process the implications. Mate? You mean... Yes, he said, stepping closer. I mean the bond that connects us. It's more than just attraction. It's destiny. The pull I felt when I found you in the storm, the moment I held you, it wasn't just chance. It's fate. I shook my head, backing up slightly. I don't understand. How can I be your mate? I barely know you. You don't have to understand right now, he said, voice softening, almost pleading. All you need to know is that you're connected to me. That bond is stronger than fear, stronger than danger, stronger than the hunters out there. And it's why I can't let anything happen to you. Not now. Not ever. I looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time I saw everything. The danger, the power, the weight of his existence, and beneath it, a man capable of tenderness, of loyalty, of something almost fragile hidden beneath layers of strength. I never asked for this, I whispered. I never... You didn't, he interrupted gently. But it chose you anyway. And it chose me. His eyes softened, and the hard edges of his expression melted just enough for me to glimpse the man beneath the wolf, beneath the alpha, beneath the predator. I swallowed hard, my chest tight. And the hunters, they know, he said, and they won't stop until they find you, or until they find me. His gaze darkened. But as long as I'm here, Lena, no one will touch you. Not them. Not anyone. You're mine. The words made my pulse hammer. Mine. The possessiveness was terrifying, intoxicating. My body responded even as my mind screamed caution. You saved me, I said, voice trembling. Tonight. You risked everything for me. Ryland's expression softened just slightly, and he closed the distance between us. "Because you're my mate," he said simply. "And because I've waited a long time for you. Longer than you can imagine." My breath caught. The intimacy of the moment, the undeniable pull between us, and the raw, unfiltered truth of his existence pressed down on me. For the first time, I understood the depth of what had been hinted at in the storm, in his eyes, in the way he carried me. "You waited?" I whispered. "Yes," he said. "I've protected humans before, but never one like you. There's something in you. Something old, something rare. The bond found you first, and I found you. It's why you survived the storm, why you were drawn to the cabin, why we're here. Fate doesn't make mistakes, Lena." The firelight flickered, casting shadows across his face, highlighting the vulnerability beneath the predator. My chest tightened. I wanted to step forward. I wanted to reach out. I wanted to believe him, though every instinct told me the truth was dangerous. "You're real," I whispered, voice trembling. "And you're dangerous. And—" My words faltered, caught between fear and desire. "I think I'm already falling for you." Ryland's eyes darkened, a flicker of something predatory flashing across them. He stepped closer, bridging the small space between us, and I could feel his warmth, his strength, his intensity envelop me. "And I for you," he admitted. "I've felt it since the storm. That pull. It's not something I can fight. It's not something I want to fight." I shivered, the words settling deep in my chest. The storm outside was nothing compared to the tempest inside me. The storm that was Rylan. Dangerous, magnetic, impossible. You could leave," I said softly. "You don't have to stay." He shook his head, eyes fierce and unwavering. "I won't leave. Not while you're here. Not while they're out there. Not while the bond exists. You're mine, Lena, and I will protect you, no matter the cost." The truth of his nature, the danger, the bond, it all crashed over me in a wave of fear, wonder, and desire. I realized then that there was no turning back. I was marked. I was bound. And the slow burn between us was no longer subtle. It was consuming, undeniable, fated. Rylan reached out, his hand brushing my cheek, thumb tracing the line of my jaw. "Trust me," he whispered. "I'll guide you through this. I'll protect you from everything." I nodded, the weight of trust settling over me like a fragile shield. I trust you," I said, voice trembling. "I don't understand everything yet, but I trust you." A faint, almost imperceptible smile flickered across his face, and for the first time, he let his guard down completely. "Just for me." "Good," he said softly, "because soon, we'll need each other more than ever." Outside, the forest was quiet, but the sense of danger lingered, a shadow waiting just beyond the firelight. Inside the cabin, a bond had been forged in truth, trust, and the raw, magnetic pull of fate. And I knew, deep down, that my life had changed forever. The cabin felt different in the morning, colder, emptier, as if something inside it had cracked during the night. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was the truth Rylan had finally admitted. Maybe it was the weight of the word mate still echoing in my chest like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. Fog clung low to the ground outside, pale tendrils curling over the forest floor. The storm had passed, but the air carried a charged stillness, like the world was holding its breath. Rylan stood at the doorway, shoulders rigid, gaze trained on the tree line. Shirtless, muscles taut, skin marked with dried blood from last night's fight, he looked like a warrior born from the wilderness itself. He hadn't spoken much since revealing the truth. I hadn't either. "How long have they been watching us?" I asked quietly. His jaw tightened. "Long enough." And you didn't tell me? I didn't want to scare you before you understood what you are to me. A spark of anger flickered inside me, but I had the right to know. He finally turned. His eyes, sharp, silver, unreadable, met mine. If you had known earlier, you would have run, and running would have gotten you killed. The bluntness of his words stung. You can't make decisions like that for me. I can when your life depends on it. I flinched. His expression changed, minutely, but it was enough. A crack in the armor. He looked away first. That hurt more than anything. I don't want to fight you, I whispered. I'm not fighting, he said softly. I'm protecting. But protection without truth is control. He froze. His breath left him in a slow exhale, one hand curling into a fist at his side. Lena, I told you the truth last night. Everything. Except for the part where hunters are circling us and I'm some fated person in your world. Except that I'm in danger because of you. He stiffened. You're in danger because you're mine. That's not comforting. Ryland's eyes darkened, pain flickering across them, quick, unguarded, then gone. You think I wanted this for you? His voice was raw now. You think I wanted fate to drag you into my curse, my world, my enemies? I swallowed. No, but... Then don't mistake my silence for deception. He stepped closer, voice deepening. I stayed quiet because I wanted to give you time to breathe. You've already lost enough. My chest tightened. What do you know about what I've lost? He hesitated, just for a heartbeat. Then, everything, he said. I know about the crash. I know about your mother. I know about the nights you wake up shaking because you're still trying to crawl out of that twisted metal. My breath left me in a gasp, knees nearly buckling. How do you... The bond, he said quietly. It lets me feel you, sense you. It pulls your memories through your emotions. I didn't mean to watch. I didn't mean to know. But when you're hurting, it reaches me. Tears burned my eyes. Shame, vulnerability, shock. Everything collided at once. You should have told me, I whispered, voice breaking. I know. His jaw flexed. I wanted to, but you're human. You needed safety, not more fear. I shook my head, wiping a tear. No, I needed honesty. The words hung between us. The bond pulsed, soft, aching, but something between us was unraveling. Rylan felt it too. He stepped back, the distance of physical blow. You're right, he said quietly, and that's why you have to leave. My heart stopped. What? I choked out. You need to leave the forest, leave this cabin, go back to the human world, before the hunters return. No. My voice trembled. No, Rylan, I can't just walk away. You have to. His tone was final, cold, absolute. It sliced through me like ice. You're pushing me away, I whispered. Yes. His voice cracked, just slightly. Because if you stay, you die. I shook my head, disbelief flooding my chest. But you said you'd protect me. You said, I will. By keeping distance between us. His eyes burned. The bond is growing too fast. Too strong. If I lose control again, you won't. You don't know what I am. I know enough. His breath hitched, a subtle shudder running through him. No, you don't. You haven't seen the worst of me yet. A beat of silence. Then he spoke the words that turned my blood cold. My pack believes you're a threat. They think you're the reason hunters found us. They want you gone. Some want you dead. Cold dread washed through me. Why? Because the bond marks you as the alpha's mate before you even understand it. Humans aren't accepted easily. They think you weaken me, that you're a distraction, a liability. My throat tightened painfully. Is that what you think too? His expression shattered, half a flinch, half a plea. "No," he whispered. "Gods, no. You're the strongest thing that's ever touched my life. Then don't send me away." He looked away, breath trembling. "I have to," he said. "For your sake." It felt like betrayal, like abandonment, like someone pulling the ground out from under me. He stepped closer one last time, lifting a hand toward my cheek, then stopping inches away, fingers trembling. "I shouldn't touch you," he murmured. "If I do, I won't let you go." Tears slipped down my face. "Rylan." He swallowed hard, pain tightening his features. "Leave before nightfall. I'll clear a path. They won't follow you if I'm the one who leads them away." "You're going to put yourself in danger for me?" "Yes." His voice broke. "And that's why you have to go. Because the next time those hunters come, they won't hesitate. And if the pack arrives first, Lena, I can't fight them all." Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. "You're choosing them over me," I whispered. "No." His voice was barely a sound. "I'm choosing your life over mine." A sob clawed at my throat. "Why does fate bring people together only to tear them apart?" He closed his eyes, pain etched into every line of his face. "Sometimes fate brings you to the edge, to see if you'll jump." "And will you?" He opened his eyes, silver, burning, breaking. "For you?" he whispered. "Every time." Then he turned away. And for the first time since the storm, I felt truly alone. The forest felt colder without him. The cabin, once a shelter carved from storm and firelight, now pressed around me like a cage. Ryland's absence was a wound, sharp, sudden, impossible to ignore. Every inch of the wooden walls still smelled like him. Pine resin, wild air, something ancient and electric. He had left before dawn. I had woken to the echo of the door creaking shut, a breath of cold air brushing my cheek like a farewell he didn't speak aloud. I should have left too. Packed the little I had, my torn jacket, the leftover bandages, the spare matches, and run before his pack, or the hunters found me. But I couldn't move. Not yet. Not while the bond still pulsed like a bruise inside my ribs. I pressed a hand to my chest, trying to breathe through the ache. "You're choosing my life over yours," he had said. "How am I supposed to walk away after that?" I stood finely, legs unsteady, and moved toward the door. The forest was gray and hushed, fog hanging low and thick. Every tree felt like a silent witness to what was breaking inside me. "Rylan," I whispered into the quiet. The bond tugged in response. Distant, muted, but real. A trembling pull somewhere deep in my bones. He was alive, but hurting. The instinct to find him surged through me so strongly it nearly brought me to my knees. But he wanted distance. He wanted safety. He wanted me to run, except... A sound cut through the fog, sharp, sudden. A snarl, not his. My heartbeat spiked. I stepped back inside the doorway, eyes wide as a dark shape moved between the trees. Then another. Low forms gliding like shadows with teeth. Not wolves. Too controlled. Too deliberate. Hunters' hounds. My breath hitched. Rylan wasn't here. I wasn't protected. I was alone. The first hound stepped into the clearing, gray, scarred, eyes reflecting an unnatural yellow glow. Then another slinked beside it. And behind them, barely visible through the mist, a man, dark coat, blade in hand, eyes locked on me. Cold terror ripped up my spine. "Run." I bolted deeper into the cabin, slamming the door shut. My hands shook so violently the latch nearly slipped. I jammed a chair under the handle, but it felt pathetically useless. "Think, Lena, think." The window. The back window. I sprinted toward it, throwing it open so hard it rattled. The forest spread behind the cabin, dense and shadowed. Danger, yes, but also the only direction the hunters weren't coming from. I climbed halfway through. A crash exploded from the front door. The wood splintered. Snarls erupted. I gasped and launched myself through the window, hitting the ground hard enough to knock the air from my lungs. I scrambled up, branches clawing at my arms as I ran into the trees. The forest swallowed me whole. My breath came in sharp, panicked bursts. Fog blurred everything into shifting shapes. Every rustle sounded like another hound. Every broken twig sounded like a hunter's footstep. Rylan, where are you? The bond pulsed again, stronger. And then, not from him, from something else. Something closer. A primal fear seized my heart. The forest went still. Too still. Before I could turn, a figure burst from the fog behind me. Massive, fur bristling, eyes glowing a piercing red. Not Rylan, not even close. A rogue wolf. Wild, unclaimed. Blood on its muzzle and madness in its gaze. My scream tore from my throat. It lunged. I stumbled back, tripping over a fallen branch, scrambling hopelessly in the leaves. The wolf's snarl vibrated the air around me as it closed in. Rylan! I cried out, even though I knew he wasn't close. Couldn't be. The wolf sprang, and then a blur slammed into it. Not fog, not shadow, not imagined. Rylan, in full wolf form, huge, dark, terrifying. He collided with the rogue midair, sending both beasts flying across the forest floor. The earth shook when they hit the ground. Snarls erupted as they tore into each other, fur, teeth, earth flying in violent arcs. Rylan! My voice broke, useless, too human to be heard over the sound of battle. The rogue snapped at him, teeth catching Rylan's flank. Blood spattered across the leaves. No, I whispered, tears blurring my vision. Stop, stop. Rylan roared, a sound that shattered the quiet, a sound that didn't belong in this world, and slammed the rogue into a tree so hard the trunk cracked. The rogue staggered. Then Rylan lunged again, unstoppable, furious, protective beyond reason, and the rogue collapsed beneath him. Silence fell. My breath trembled out of me in a sob as Rylan staggered back, bleeding, panting, his massive form shaking. He turned to me, eyes no longer silver, but molten, burning, mate. The bond surged violently, so powerful it brought me to my knees. My heartbeat synced with his. My breath matched his ragged inhalations. Every wound he felt, I felt echoing inside me. Then, slowly, painfully, he shifted. Bones cracked, fur receded, darkness folded into the shape of a man until Rylan knelt on one knee before me, shaking, blood streaking his bare skin. Lena. His voice was raw, barely a whisper. I told you to run. I told you to leave. I tried. I choked out. They came for me. Hunters. Wolves. I didn't know where to go. His jaw clenched. I should never have left you. He reached for me, but stopped, as if afraid he had no right. I closed the distance myself. I threw my arms around him, clutching him with shaking hands. He tensed, then melted into the embrace, forehead pressing into my shoulder, breath trembling against my neck. I thought I lost you, he whispered. You almost did, I whispered back, tears falling freely. But you came back. You always come back. His arms wrapped around me, strong despite the wounds, pulling me close as if he needed to feel my heartbeat against his own. You're hurt, I said against his skin. It doesn't matter. It does, I insisted. He pulled back just enough to meet my eyes, pain, fear, relief, and something deeper burning in them all at once. I can't push you away again, he said hoarsely. Not after this. Not after feeling you call for me. The bond. Lena, it nearly tore me apart. I wiped a tear from his cheek. Then don't push me away. His breath stuttered. "This is bigger than both of us," he said. "My pack, the hunters, the rogue wolves, everything is closing in. I don't care." His eyes widened. "I care about you," I whispered. "And I'm not leaving you again. Not unless you tell me you truly don't want me here." Silence. Deep. Heavy. Soul-breaking. Rylan lifted a hand, brushing his knuckles down my cheek with shaking tenderness. "I want you," he breathed. "More than fate ever warned me I would." The bond snapped tight. Alive. Awake. Irreversible. And somewhere deep in the forest, something howled. A warning. A promise. A threat. Rylan's hand tightened around mine. "This isn't over," he whispered. "This was only the beginning." The world swayed when the final echo of Rowan's roar faded into the night. For a heartbeat, there was only silence. Raw, ringing, impossible silence. Then the forest exhaled around us, as though a spell had broken. The oppressive weight in the air dissolved. The shadows that had clung to the trees thinned. Even the moonlight changed, sharpening, brightening, warming the world in silver. The curse was gone. I felt it before I understood it. A strange heat rippled across Rowan's skin beneath my hands. His trembling eased. The black veins that had spread like frost across his body dissolved like smoke. When his eyes fluttered open, they were no longer burning with the sickly red of corruption. They glowed a deep, molten gold, warm and alive and painfully beautiful. Alive. His gaze found mine as though he had been drowning and I was the first breath of air he'd broken the surface for. "Evelyn," his voice was raw, hoarse, but steady. "You brought me back." Tears stung my eyes so fast I barely had time to swallow them back. I pressed trembling fingers to his cheek. "You came back," I whispered. I just held on." He leaned into my touch, the smallest exhale slipping from him. Relief, longing, disbelief all tangled together. His hand came up, covering mine, his thumb brushing the edge of my wrist like he needed to feel my pulse to believe this wasn't a dream. Behind us, the pack watched in stunned, reverent silence. But Rowan didn't look away from me, not once. His voice dropped, quiet enough that only someone this close, someone meant for him, could hear it. "The mate bond broke the curse," he murmured. "No." My throat tightened. "We broke it." His breath caught, a subtle, shaking inhale. Then he rose slowly to his feet, pulling me with him, never letting my hand go, never letting distance slip between us again. The pack parted instinctively, recognizing something holy in the moment. Rowan stepped forward, his presence, no longer shadowed by the curse, unfurling like a tide reclaiming the shore. Power radiated off him, not violent or feral, but ancient and commanding. His alpha aura spread through the clearing, brushing over every wolf like a warm, warning wind. Elian was the first to kneel, bowing his head. "Alpha," he said, voice trembling with awe. One by one, the others followed. Cade, Mira, Thorn. Even the wolves who had once questioned him, feared him, doubted him. They bent their knees in the moonlit clearing, offering silent loyalty to the true leader who had survived the impossible. Rowan's jaw clenched. "I don't want your knees," he said, struggling against the emotion rising in him. "Just your trust, your loyalty, your protection of our home." A murmur rippled through the pack. Agreement, devotion, a vow spoken without words. Then Rowan turned toward me. The gold in his eyes brightened, softening, melting. He lifted my shaky hand to his lips and pressed a kiss to the center of my palm. "Evelyn." His voice was low, reverent. "You are the reason I'm standing here, the reason I'm free." I swallowed hard as warmth filled my chest, spreading like wildfire. "You're the reason I'm alive," I whispered back. He exhaled shakily and then, Before the doubt in his eyes could take root, he stepped closer. His forehead pressed gently to mine. His hand slid to the back of my neck, fingers threading through my hair with a tenderness that nearly broke me. "Tell me," he breathed, "that you'll stay." The bond hummed between us, soft, warm, certain, as though the moon itself held its breath. "I'm done running," I said. "From you, from this, from myself." His grip tightened just slightly, just enough. "Then stay with me," he whispered. "As my equal, my partner, my mate." My heartbeat stuttered. "Rowan." He pulled back just enough to see my face, searching my expression with a vulnerability I'd never imagined he possessed. "You saved my soul," he said. "Let me spend the rest of my life protecting yours." And there it was. Love, not confessed with pretty words or reckless declarations, but with truth, raw and stripped bare. I felt the answer rising in me like the tide. "Yes," I said, barely more than a breath. "I'll stay." Something inside him shattered, quietly, beautifully. His arms wrapped around me and he pulled me into him, crushing me against his chest like he was afraid I could vanish if he didn't hold tight enough. I clung back, burying my face against his heartbeat. The pack didn't cheer. They simply watched, soft-eyed, respectful, protective, as the forest seemed to lean in around us, bearing witness to the ending of one fate and the beginning of another. When Rowan finally pulled back, he brushed a strand of hair from my cheek. "We'll rebuild," he said softly. "Together." I nodded. "And you won't have to carry any of it alone." A small, aching smile touched his lips, a thing so rare it felt like a gift meant only for me. "I think," he murmured, "I've waited my whole life to hear that." He lifted my hand again, placing it over his heart. "This beats because of you." I shook my head, tears slipping free. "No, this beats for you. It always did." For the first time since I met him, Rowan laughed softly, a low, warm sound that felt like sunlight after winter. "I don't deserve you. You deserve peace," I whispered. "And I'm not going anywhere." He pulled me into a final, gentle embrace. No desperation this time, no fear, just quiet relief and a love spoken through the steady, even rhythm of his breathing. The moon moved overhead. The pack rose, and Rowan, standing tall and unbroken beside me, squeezed my hand. "Come home with me," he said. I nodded. "Yes, Alpha." His eyes softened. "Just Rowan," he whispered. And when he laced his fingers through mine and led me from the clearing, no curse, no shadows, no distance left between us, I followed him without looking back. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't walking toward danger. I was walking toward a future, toward him, toward home. The forest was different in the daylight, warmer, gentler, almost shy, as though embarrassed by the violence and shadows it had held just hours before. Dew clung to the mossy earth, glittering like scattered stars. A soft breeze stirred through the trees, lifting Rowan's dark hair as we walked, side by side along the narrow trail toward his cabin. Our cabin now, if I was brave enough to claim it. But Rowan didn't rush me. He never let go of my hand, though. His thumb brushed lazy circles over my knuckles, grounding me, steadying me, reminding me again and again that he was still here, still real, still mine. I didn't realize how tightly I'd been holding my breath until a peaceful quiet settled inside my chest. It felt like the first breath of spring after a lifetime of winter. The cabin appeared between the pines, washed in gold morning light. Smoke curled from the chimney. Cade must have gotten there before us. And for once, the place didn't look lonely. It looked lived in, safe, waiting. Rowan paused at the edge of the clearing. His shoulders rose and fell with a slow inhale, as though he feared this might all vanish if he stepped too quickly. "Feels different," he murmured. What does? I asked. He glanced at me, something soft and unguarded flickering in his gold eyes. Everything. The word rippled through me like a warm tide. We walked the last stretch together. When Rowan opened the door, the scent of pine wood and herbs drifted out, a familiar smell I'd come to associate with him. But something was new. Lighter. Almost sweet. That's you, Rowan said quietly when he saw the way my breath hitched. Your scent. It's part of this place now. Heat rushed to my cheeks. You can smell that? He smiled. Slow, rare, breathtakingly warm. I can feel it. There was something intimate about the way he said it. Like the bond wasn't just magic, but something deeply physical, woven through every instinct and heartbeat. Inside, the cabin glowed with soft morning light. A fire crackled in the hearth. Someone, probably Mira, had left a basket of blankets on the table. A pair of mugs waited on the counter, steam still curling from them. Rowan frowned at the unexpected domesticity. They're trying to make it feel like a home. Isn't it? I asked softly. His breath stilled. Then he turned toward me, stepping closer until only inches separated us. He lifted his hand, tracing a slow line down my jaw with the back of his fingers. The touch was feather-light, but it felt like being marked, cherished, chosen. It is, he said, because you're here. My throat tightened. He lowered his forehead to mine, breathing me in. Evelyn, I can still feel the bond humming, like it's anchoring me. Does it hurt? I whispered. No. His lips brushed my temple. It feels like peace. We stood there in silence for a long moment, letting the warmth of the fire soak into our bones, letting the quiet settle around us like a blanket, letting ourselves believe this warmth, this stillness, this safety, could last. Rowan was the first to pull back, though only slightly. I want to show you something. He took my hand again and guided me to the back door, pushing it open. A chill breeze swept in. Beyond the cabin was a small clearing, ringed with tall pines that swayed gently. In the center stood a large, ancient stone etched with weathered runes. I brought you here once, he said softly, but you didn't know it. Confusion knitted my brow. When? The night I found you. His voice dropped. When you fainted in the storm, I carried you here. The stone. It hums when a mate enters the clearing. I didn't know why at the time. I didn't want to know. He swallowed. But it reacted to you. I stepped closer to the stone, letting my fingertips brush its cold, rough surface. The air shivered faintly beneath my touch. Soft, warm, almost like a greeting, like the forest itself recognized me now. Rowan, I whispered. What does it mean? It means you were meant to find us, he said. Me, this pack, this life. Emotion swelled in my chest, thick and overwhelming. Do you regret it? I asked quietly. The bond? Me? He didn't answer with words. Instead, he stepped behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist, pulling me back against his chest. His breath warmed the side of my neck. If fate itself placed you in my path, he murmured, how could I ever regret you? My eyes fluttered shut. And if you ever choose a different path, he went on softly, I'll walk it with you. I'm not letting you face anything alone again. A single tear slipped down my cheek. I'm not leaving, I whispered. His grip tightened, gentle but certain. Then stay. Stay here. Stay with me. I turned in his arms to face him. The morning light caught in his eyes. Golden, soft, unguarded. For once, his expression held no fear of the curse, no guilt, no shadows, only hope, only longing, only me. I want this, I said. I want you. I want a home. I want a future. His breath trembled with something that looked a lot like relief. Then he cupped my face in both hands, his palms warm against my cheeks. "Then this is your home," he whispered, "for as long as you want it." I leaned into him, letting my forehead rest against his, letting the bond hum between us, steady, unbroken, alive. A soft breeze stirred the clearing. Somewhere in the distance a wolf howled, not in warning, but in welcome. Rowan exhaled a quiet laugh. "They're impatient," he said. "They want to meet their Luna." My heart stumbled. "Luna?" His thumb brushed my cheek. "If you want it. If you want us." Warmth filled me like sunlight through open curtains. "I do," I whispered. "I want us." His eyes softened. And then Rowan kissed me. Not with desperation, not with fear of losing me, but with slow, reverent certainty. A kiss like a promise, like the opening of a door neither of us would ever walk away from again. When we finally pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine. "Welcome home, Evelyn," he breathed. I smiled through the tears I didn't bother to wipe away. "Home," I repeated, letting the word settle into my bones. And as Rowan's arms wrapped around me and the forest whispered softly around us, I knew this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a future I never believed I could have. A future where I wasn't running. A future where I wasn't alone. A future where a wolf loved me long before I ever learned to love myself.